The following program is paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Fresno on 105.9 the FM KMJ. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Craig Barton.
Good morning, Central Valley. I am your host, Craig Barton, and welcome to the Real Estate Radio Network, the most important hour of radio each week here on 105.9 the FM KMJ. Real Estate Radio is a show dedicated to bringing some rational thought to this crazy world that we live in and helping you to rebuild the Central Valley's housing and credit markets. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted advice. And that's exactly what you are going to hear every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. right here on 105.9 the FM KMJ. Thank you so much for getting up with us this early Sunday morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's not 4 a.m.?
No, it's 7.
It's 7 a.m.
I had time to get my coffee.
Atta girl.
Yeah.
And actually wake up.
I did wake up this morning. Actually really well. I'm like chipper this morning.
You know, so many people just take that whole waking up thing for granted.
Ooh, not me. Not anymore.
I'm with you, kid. I don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
When people say, how you doing? I say, I woke up. I am blessed.
Yes, amen.
That is for sure. Well, as always, it is so good to have you, Michelle, our special guest host, Michelle Pettiscavalli, in the studio with us today. Michelle is a licensed real estate professional and a trusted friend.
Thanks, Craig. You made me smile. Happy Sunday.
I think last week I said there's a hug in there.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. See, what a way to finish off my last day of the weekend.
Oh, awesome. Glad I could help.
Thanks.
I'm trying. I really am trying.
I know you are.
Well, Michelle, Real Estate Radio is really gives us an opportunity each and every week to reach so many people efficiently. I'm tongue-tied this morning.
You are.
What'd you do to me?
You didn't have your coffee, I can tell.
Oh, boy. For one full hour each and every week, well, our goal at the Real Estate Radio Network is to give you, our listeners, the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you
back home.
Wow, tag team.
I know, play on words. I love it. I love it.
I love it, too. Well, on today's show, we are going to take a closer look at how to create. Michelle's looking at her copy because
there's
nothing.
There's nothing. On today's show, we're going to take a closer look at. There's like 20 spaces blank.
Exactly. That's exactly how my mind looks right at the moment.
Okay, so what are we looking at today?
Well, we are going to take a closer look at what it takes in today's market to construct a successful offer. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of secrets in there that I think our listeners really need to stay tuned. There's a lot that we're going to try to accomplish today. But how do you win in today's real estate market, and what does it take to construct a successful offer? There's some things in there that it's secret.
It just made me think of that song. It's tricky to rock around. Sorry. Yeah, it's a little tricky in today's market to write those offers.
It is extremely tricky in today's market, and hopefully this helps to give you some perspective on how to be successful and how to get an offer actually accepted in today's market. Either if you're out there looking or you are thinking about going and looking, this is some ammo that we would love to have you go out and start your search with. Well, if you do have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that you hear us present on your show, we'd love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958 or check out our resources online where you can listen to past shows from the Real Estate Radio Network on YouTube by going to our website at reofresnohomes.com or use press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Valleywide
to get connected to us anytime. We'd love to hear from you. Well, you heard me say press 4 keyword KMJ, call Valleywide with Michelle's help. Well, we want to help show you that you'll only need one button for the rest of your life. Well, what is press 4? Michelle, tell me, what is press 4?
I always giggle when you ask me about press 4. Press 4 is a method in which our listeners can install an app on their iPhone or their BlackBerry or their smartphone, dumb phone if they want to go to the computer.
Correct. Yeah.
They can press it while they're driving down the street. It will ask them who they're looking for or what call item they're looking for, and all they have to do is say, call Craig, and it will dial to you. KMJ, call Craig.
Or KMJ, call Valleywide.
See here, I'm going to actually do
it
again.
It's really an easier way.
It's going to come on here in a second. Yeah, oh wait.
Thank you for calling Press 4. Please say your keyword now.
KMJ, call Craig.
And watch. Here we go.
I'm sorry.
I love it. Who could be louder and more obnoxious? See, I'm talking to it, so now it's going really. It went, whoa, loud and obnoxious. We don't have them here either. Sorry.
I'm sorry. No comprende for you today.
Yeah, you have to speak clearly without your radio on, without your Craig in your ear. Oh, that's funny.
My gosh.
Anyways, and it calls your number. It truly does.
I think it's well put. Well put.
Well, not only that, but it also sends them some information via email if they're looking for specifics.
The great thing is it sends you a text message. Once you register, it sends you a text message. The text message can also show you how to stay in contact with us. It also sends you our web address, the REOFresnoHomes.com. And it also will send you exactly or do exactly what it's instructed to do. KMJ, call Valleywide. It will call in directly to us. You'll reach me or Michelle. Pretty great.
I like it.
Pretty great. It's a little better, cool. I think, than, no offense. Hey, right now, put your, pick up your phone, text the number. When you're driving, all you have to do is hit the icon on your smartphone. Right. It will bring up a big orange ball with the number 4 on it.
It looks like a pool ball.
It is a pool ball. You got that right.
I like it. You know what? And I actually have so many people that we've been talking about using that number 4 ball for some advertising with Press 4. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, very much
I think we're going to see it a lot out there.
You press 4 and then you say your keywords and it takes you wherever. Depending upon, it can deliver a PDF. It can take you to a website.
Right.
It can deliver, it can deliver coupons to you over the phone.
Yeah, pre-programmed. So the person who identifies it as one of their marketing tools actually assigns it a key phrase and assigns it what goes out with the key phrase.
We can use it to market. Cool. We can use it to market properties. Oh wait, we already do.
Yeah. KMJ Hot Property.
KMJ Hot Property. Exactly.
I like that one.
Exactly. Well, just go. If you do not have Press 4 set up on your phone, just go to the Press 4 website at press4.com or go to the App Store for your specific phone. And follow the simple setup instructions, and you can start using Press 4 before you know it.
I like it.
Am I right?
You are, because when I'm driving, I don't really want to dial your number.
Well, you don't really. Well, it's a whole lot easier. So all you have to do is KMJ call Craig.
Yeah, and it takes
calls
me there.
Unless, of course, the little lady on the other line has a hard time understanding what
I'm saying. Yeah, we need to speak clearly, if at all possible. Enunciate our words.
And one button really can do it all. Well, let's take a look at today's hot property. In each week's hot property segment, we take a look or we showcase a specific property. Today's hot property is 927 Papaya Street in Madera, California, 93638. This particular property is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-story home built in 2007. It's 2,118 square feet. This particular property is a HUD home, and as we mentioned before, a HUD home during the first 30 days is only eligible for owner-occupant offers. Extremely important to note, there's no competition as far as investors are concerned. So if you're an owner-occupant and you're looking for your first home, and you'd like more information about today's hot property, just give us a call anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958, or use Press 4 keyword KMJ Hot Property.
Atta girl. That's actually a really cool property. I've been out there a few times in the last few days, and nice neighborhood. It's a KB home neighborhood, fairly recently built. Really, really.
The neighborhood's well kept up. It's a newer neighborhood. You got that right. What would you estimate? There's probably 60, 80 homes out there in that little tract.
Probably. It's on the east side of the 99.
Yes.
As you get into Madera, it's a nice little neighborhood.
Yep, I actually sold a property in there. To some folks about a year and a half ago. Nice little neighborhood, that's for sure. Use Press 4 keyword KMJ Hot Property, and we'll send more information about this hot property right to your phone. Look for more hot properties each week right here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Well, we're going to talk about finding your new home, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more in the show. As far as once you find your home later in the show, so how do you win in the real estate game? Well,
it's tricky to.
That's a tricky.
It's a tricky question right now because the market it's definitely the ebb and flow is quite an interesting.
We said this when we were talking this week when we were preparing for today's show. It is not, home affordability, and we will say this again later in the show, at an all-time high since 2002.
Home affordability at an all-time high. That sounds funny.
I'm sorry.
At an all-time low?
It's the most affordable.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
when you say all-time high, it sounds like it's expensive, but really it's affordable.
Yeah, definitely
the affordability factor is what we're talking about.
Yes, affordability
sorry.
index is at an all-time high since 2002. Sorry, the index is at an all-time high.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Sorry to be. No, I was just. Hey, I'm here for clarity.
Where are you going with this? What's so high about home affordability
That's
right
my
at the moment?
point. It sounded the opposite, but I knew what you meant.
I didn't identify the index.
Okay, sorry.
So, Michelle, what's the most efficient way that you go about searching for your property? We'll talk about later about how to be competitive in today's real estate market. Some of the things as buyers, our listeners, you may want to hear. Some of the other things you may not want to hear necessarily because we're going to be straight with you. We're going to shoot straight, and we're going to tell you not what you want to hear, but what you really need in order to be successful in today's real estate market. Well, right at the moment, when it comes time for finding your new home, don't get off the curb until you're ready to be aggressive. And how do you go about finding your new home? What's the most efficient way?
The most effective way that we agents utilize and use with our clients is going to be our online, which is real-time portals, which we set up for clients that specifically engage them with the properties in their criteria. So whether it's a school district, whether it's a size, whether it's a year it was built, et cetera, price range, we can dial that in specifically. And so that particular system actually is the most effective as far as giving clients current, accurate information on the market.
Fantastic. So when and I know that there's so many searches out there. There's Zillow, there's Trulia, there's Red Door, there's Movoto. Some of that information can be stale. Some of that information cannot be updated. Whereas on your portal, if the status changes from active to pending, you'll know immediately. If that is a property that you've saved, that will update immediately. Right.
And I think the most interesting piece that people should be aware of, Trulio and those other companies are generally getting their information from this system. So when I go and I change a listing from active to pending, I'm doing it in the actual system that this portal comes from.
Right.
So Trulia and the others are getting it secondhand from our system.
And it must be, I wish I knew, and maybe we should do some research on this. I wish I knew what kind of imprint, because that imprint is not a live active imprint.
No, it's not.
It stays out there.
Right.
So maybe that's what it is. It's a snapshot in time.
I think it
based
is
upon the data that it's getting, but it's not real time as far as updating.
It seems like it, correct. It seems like it, because it won't necessarily tell you this home went pending today.
Right. And here's the other thing as well is searching all the different websites out there, one resource really truly can be enough for you.
Absolutely.
Because I talk with clients all the time, well, how do you go about the process of finding, well, I go here and I go to this particular company's website, or I use Zillow, and too many resources is not necessarily a great thing, because if you want real time, it sure does muddy the water and sets unrealistic expectations in terms of,
and it wastes your time as well as whoever you're working with's time.
Right.
Honestly, they want to be the most effective for you. So that real-time MLS information is going to give everyone the most accurate, on-target information versus bringing them outdated Trulia information for them to confirm or deny starts to get exhausting for people.
Exactly. It does take time to confirm or deny whether it is active or not.
Is this real? Well, let me check.
Well,
no, sorry, it's not.
We're here to tell you that there is an easier way, and if your agent that you're working with hasn't set you up on a web portal, tell them you heard it from Craig and Michelle on the Real Estate Radio Network. And
we're going to be in so much trouble.
We're going to be in a lot of, that's okay. I'd like to be blamed for good stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you'd like us to help, there is an easier way. Just contact us at our off-air number, and we'll be happy to set up that search for you anytime. Actually, Michelle would be happy to set that up. Call us at 800-979-3958, or use press 4 keyword KMJ, call Valleywide. Michelle can simplify the new search for you. You're skipping ahead, aren't you?
I am. I'm sorry. I'm a page ahead of you.
Real quick, a couple stories I want to cover. Case-Shiller prices. Now, you may have heard of the Case-Shiller index. Well, this particular index, it said, fell to new lows in first quarter of this year. You have to keep in mind this is an index, that there's a number of major markets that are utilized in order to calculate whether home prices rise or fall. Keep in mind, guys, Fresno County is our own little microcosm and should not be misconstrued or compared necessarily to other major markets or an index. So when they say housing prices have fallen roughly 2.5%, comparably speaking, to the first quarter of last year. Totally, completely understandable, and in today's market. But let me just say this. Remember, Fresno County is its own little microcosm. We'll talk a little bit more about that because the inventory numbers will not lie and help to give us, I've got some stats that we're going to cover later in the show in terms of comparing this year to last year. What is really helping to firm up home prices here in Fresno County, and not real representative. We're actually seeing an increase March of last year, April of last year to this year, and the average or the median sell price in Fresno County, it has increased comparatively speaking to last year. So Case-Shiller, that's all good and fine for a national index, but not necessarily representative of what's going on here in the Valley. Again, mortgage rates keep falling. This particular article came out last Friday. Some people wonder how low mortgage rates can drop. And taking advantage of a good thing. Even if you are underwater and your mortgage is owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, there are still options for you. But the National Mortgage Bankers Association's weekly application survey said that refinance applications had risen. Mortgage rates were at an all-time. Now, these are average rates. And you've got to keep in mind, this is a cross-section of all the different rates out there that are offered. But rates are at an all-time low. Everything keeps getting better. And granted, rates are an important part of the calculation when it comes time for our overall recovery. Last article here, Realtor Mag. Short sale process expected to speed up in June. There's some national legislation. The Federal Housing and Finance Agency will require Fannie and Freddie to give answers within 60 days. Within 60 days. Now, what we are seeing is depending upon who the servicer is, sometimes it can be longer, but for most, in most instances, they are complying even as soon as right now.
Yeah.
And we've seen, short sale doesn't mean short, but it definitely doesn't mean that it's not short either. Let's just say
We're
that.
seeing some really effective short sales going on.
Most definitely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned after the break for our Market Watch update. All right, Kate. The mic is going to be all yours after the break. We've got a market update. It is a new segment that we'd like to welcome to the Real Estate Radio Network here every Sunday, or as often as Kate wants to do it, right, Kate? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah. All
right. With Kate Island, financial advisor from UBS Securities. You are not going to want to miss this. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on 105.9, the FM KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and there's never been a more affordable time to buy real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let the mortgage professionals at Valley White help. Valley White Homes has been helping homeowners with their mortgage needs since 1997. When it comes to the Valley's real estate, we know our way around the neighborhood. Call toll-free, 800-979-3958, and put the seasoned professionals at Valley White Homes to work for you. Valley White Homes, NMLS number 342062, 235-952, California Department of Real Estate License 0122-8460.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, as part of a new segment to the Real Estate Radio Network, each and every week here, Sunday mornings from 7 to 8, we are going to add, it's called our Market Watch segment. And I've got a professional, because Lord knows I have no idea when it comes to securities,
stocks and bonds,
all that
and
good
whatnot.
stuff. Let me tell you, I am not the brightest small appliance bulb in the box, as they would say.
Definitely top shelf, though.
I'm top shelf.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're a tool, but you're top shelf.
Yeah, that's cool. Ay. Thanks so much. Well,
but watching the market is,
it's overwhelming.
Yes.
For crying
It
out
gives
loud.
you a lot of gray hair.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you that.
Yeah,
and I
well,
have enough already, so I don't need more.
I have a good stylist. So
You hide it well.
Why, thank you. Thank you, Dale.
We have financial advisor and vice president of investments from UBS Financial Securities in Fresno, Kate Island, a chartered retirement planning counselor. That is a mouthful.
it is. You can say CRPC to make it shorter, but
I
don't think it sounds as fancy.
I wanted to
She
spell it out for
earned that
everybody.
title.
That's right.
It's like a PhD.
That's
You got to
right.
put it out
Oh,
there.
my gosh. Well, Kate, welcome to the Real Estate Radio
Thank
Network
you.
family. And
Thank
we are
you.
so excited to have you here. As part of our Mortgage Watch, each and every week, you're going to help keep us connected to really what's been going on in the market and hopefully give us a little what, how should I say, a little outlook on what's coming on the horizon as far as what's going down.
Absolutely. Well, and I know that listeners tune in to get information about the real estate market, especially the local real estate market here in Fresno and the Central Valley. But I think that the information about the economy and the financial markets is really vital in helping people protect themselves and trying to prosper in these times. I mean, they're tough, no
Most
doubt
definitely.
about it.
And interrelated.
Right. And, you know, in addition, I mean, really what happens in the financial markets, it directly affects the housing market and vice versa. I mean, you hit on it earlier talking about the Case-Shiller Index and interest rates and that kind of thing. And so when you look at that, I mean, they're absolutely related. So whether or not you're an investor or, you know, an investor in real estate, I think it's important just to have a general idea about what's going on in the economy. And there's a lot going on right now.
Having a general overview is very, very important. But
Definitely.
Also what we said before, our little microcosm is going to be affected directly or possibly indirectly here in the Valley. And it's important to have a general understanding, but then also take the bits and pieces that hopefully you can piece the puzzle together and say, well, here's a reason why we're seeing what we're seeing. And hopefully it makes sense to you.
Right. Absolutely. So there is a lot of material to cover with regards to the financial markets.
We've got 45 minutes, Kate.
All right, good. Well, I can fill that up and more, but to save you two from falling asleep, I'm going to keep today pretty brief, pretty general in nature, and then hopefully later on, you know, we can dive a little bit deeper into some of the other topics. So with that, last year, just briefly, 2011, for those of you who pay attention to the financial markets, it was a roller coaster ride. And at the end of the day, believe it or not, the markets actually finished flat. The S&P 500 was pretty much flat. Again, did not at all feel that way. I mean, there were months when literally the market was up and down 15%.
Wow.
So the market finished flat because it did start to rally towards the end of the year. And moving into 2012, in the first couple months of this year, the U.S. stock markets rallied really for two main reasons. Number one, and the main reason I think, is the thought that the fiscal crisis in Europe has been largely resolved. And really there were kind of two key components to that. Number one is Greece. I'm sick of talking about Greece. I'm sure everybody is sick of hearing about it. But, you know, they got their bailout deal inked, which was huge because they needed the money or they were not going to be solvent.
Right.
And then in addition to that, large European banks got a huge cash infusion. We've done the same thing here, and you know we make up all kinds of different acronyms. I mean, our industry is flush with those, as I'm sure you know. But that was really the two main things, and so the market really settled on that news and the thought that the problem isn't necessarily resolved, but like enough money has been thrown at it that it's not going to create some huge havoc in the markets.
Right.
So in addition to that, publicly traded companies reported overall higher earnings. So the first quarter earnings growth was pretty solid, and the growth outlook for the U.S. is improving. The U.S. is important because we are the world's largest economy. So, you know, it's like if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. It's like the same thing relates to the U.S.,
true,
right?
Huh? Michelle,
right?
we say that about Michelle, too.
Yeah, and
See,
let me just
same
say, I'm
thing.
sitting here thinking, on top of that, I'm just thinking in my mind because I'm no market professional, okay? But I'm thinking, and where does California lay in that? As far as markets,
that could be a whole
that's a whole
other
show. That's a whole other show and subject, and I say that
in
because
fact, that might be a good one over the summertime.
Because
actually.
we do have such a huge impact worldwide on the markets
I think
because
we're
of
the
our
8th
economy.
or 9th largest economy in the world if you stripped California out. I mean, we are absolutely huge. And it's interesting because California kind of has its own set of issues. But they really do mimic a lot of what we're seeing, not just here, but in other countries as well. So good idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. No, that's okay.
Mental note.
So
no, it's true though. We are such an important piece of that puzzle.
Absolutely we are. Yeah. So with that, according to our firm's research, so I'm going to cite UBS Wealth Management Research quite a bit throughout this program, but their estimates are that our economy here in the U.S. is on pace to grow between 2 and 2.5%. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but for a very large, established, developed economy, especially where we came from last summer, where growth really slumped, that's good.
Yeah.
That's decent. On top of that, inflation really has been under control.
Sure.
I say that with quotes, not that you guys can see it, but under control.
For our radio audience, she's lifting both hands and going like this.
I got the quotes. And so key figures, and some that you two probably pay attention to, such as positive credit lending growth and just a pickup in overall certain housing statistics really led to this growth.
Right.
And I'll get into some of that a little bit later. So the first part of the year, things were great. Like markets were going like gangbusters, earnings were good. However, in this last, I'd say month, 4 to 5 weeks or so, the rally has somewhat reversed course, and we've seen a pretty big sell-off in the equity markets around the world. International markets have been hit extremely hard, a lot harder than the U.S. market has. And I'll say that probably the catalyst, I mean, there's a couple of reasons, but the main thing is, surprise, Greece. So on May 6th...
Greece again.
Yeah, exactly. On May 6th, they held an election, and that election resulted in Greece failing to form a government with a majority of seats in parliament. And so what that means is essentially they are without a government. A bigger problem within that is that the party that won the second most votes is anti-austerity and instead wants policy that tilts more toward growth. And they were even to the point where they were asking Greek leaders to rip up the bailout deal that they had agreed to.
Oh, wow.
Okay, slow down.
Yeah.
Clarity, austerity.
Yes.
I need an explanation.
It's one of those terms that gets thrown around, and I think probably a lot of people don't exactly know what it means. So austerity cuts are really just a nice way of saying that the government is clamping down. So when I say austerity cuts specific to Greece, we mean cutting government jobs. There was one report that like 150,000 government jobs had been cut. I mean, their population is not that big.
Right.
Government pensions being cut, even for people that are currently collecting them.
Meaning giving up those things that, and I hate to say this, I'm going to use that big 4-letter word, that people feel that they're entitled to. Sure. I mean, how many times? What boggles my mind is that governments, California, function on the fact that this is what we've given. Well, all I know is my business doesn't bring in enough money; it closes.
Right.
So there is no
right.
And it's either unfortunately cutting jobs,
right,
in order to stay afloat. But this is, that
it's a problem around the world. I mean, Greece is, I think, a pretty egregious example. But they've too robust of entitlement programs, but also there's a lot of tax fraud there and that kind of thing. And I hear all kind of anecdotal stories, but we're not feeling it here. And I think it's easy to say, well, they were just getting too much, and so whatever. But for those people there, it is major cuts, and that part of the reason why the election turned out as it did is because the social unrest that is stemming from all of these cuts. I mean, people are mad. People are angry.
Right.
Yeah, and it's hard to know how that whole thing is going to work out. But whenever you see the word austerity, basically it just means cuts. And when you're talking about Greece,
it's kind of like
pretty severe cuts.
The opposite of posterity.
Yeah.
Right. Quite exactly.
Sorry, I just
oh my gosh,
I like
austerity.
The light bulb just went off in my head. Thank you, Michelle.
Austerity. Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm all about clarity. Come on, I got to be understanding.
Sounds like prosperity,
especially
right?
when it comes to the market.
Yeah, exactly.
So since that election on May 6th, and Greece essentially without a government, uncertainty has reared its ugly head again. And if there is one thing that the financial markets absolutely despise, it's uncertainty. Even if the outcome they know is going to be bad, they would rather know that there's going to be a bad outcome than not know the outcome at all.
Sure.
And that, it's
Isn't
huge
that
uncertainty
such human
there.
nature?
Absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely.
We all want to know what to expect.
You just want to know.
We want to expect the worst, then we'll expect the worst, but we want to know what to expect.
Exactly.
That's typical.
Exactly. And right now, there's just a huge question mark over the entire Eurozone. I mean, it's large.
I like that, Eurozone.
Yeah. And so, in addition to what's happening across the pond, economic data in the U.S. has trended a little bit weaker in the last couple of weeks. So, as I said, in the first part of the year, things were trending pretty positively. But in the last few weeks, numbers from durable goods orders to housing prices to jobs numbers, our economic recovery seems to be a bit in jeopardy. And in fact, according to UBS Wealth Management Research, although the first quarter of corporate earnings were really strong, expectations were pretty low, and UBS thinks that forward-looking estimates are probably a bit optimistic.
Gotcha.
So it's, with the financial markets, it's not just the number you get; it's how you read into that number and then what you think that number is going to be going forward. I mean, there's all kinds of guesstimates, I guess, about what's going on. So, and then really to echo that, our own Federal Reserve Chairman, so Ben Bernanke, who runs our central bank, reported that QE3, or quantitative easing, was still on the table, and that they would likely keep interest rates at these very low levels until the end of 2014. So it's just kind of a sign that our recovery here is not as strong as what we thought at the beginning of the year.
And we still need help.
We still need help.
Lots of help.
Yes. And so quantitative easing, I'm just going to go into a little diatribe about what that is.
Just so you know, I love definitions, so keep it up. I'm doing great. I'm with you.
Okay, good. So QE3 is now on the table, which means there was a QE2 and a QE1. Okay.
Didn't the first one sink?
Well,
that was Titanic. I'm so sorry. Oh, God, sorry.
That's great. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not good if you're like equating our economy to the Titanic.
I'm holding back today. I just want you to know.
I can tell.
Thank you. You're taking it easy on me. Appreciate that.
I took my meds.
So in general, and this actually directly relates to the housing market. So Craig, what you had said earlier about the fact that mortgage rates are at all-time lows. I mean, where's the 30-year now? Do you
30-year
know
fixed rate. If you're looking at FHA, you're looking at about 3 3/4 with an APR of slightly under 4%.
Yeah.
Conventional Fannie, as reported by the National Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie and Freddie average rate was roughly 3.73, as was reported last week.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And part of that is thanks to quantitative easing. I mean, that was exactly the goal of what the Feds have done. And so in general, quantitative easing means that a central bank, doesn't have to be ours, and all central banks pretty much across the globe are doing it right now.
Right.
It's the attempt to make money, again, quote unquote, easier or cheaper. And now, some people might describe that as money printing. You hear that term kind of thrown around, and that's not exactly the case, but like the basic premise is that's essentially it. And so quantitative easing puts more money in the banking system with the hope that that money will then be lent out to consumers and to businesses in order to spur the economy. So in the U.S., the reason why the consumer spending piece is so important is because 70% of our economy here, roughly 70%, is related to consumer spending, what we buy and sell. And so if that piece of the pie is suffering, and I mean, if you just look at what happened with the housing market, when people couldn't get home equity lines, right? I mean, what happened to spending? It absolutely dried up. So the easing of money here is extremely important for growth going forward. Quantitative easing can also be attributed to lowering interest rates, which is what we just said, to make money cheaper. And for those of you who own your homes, what would a 1% mortgage rate reduction do to your monthly payment?
Right.
I mean, it's a huge difference, right? So think about that, but on a much grander scale.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking about trillions of dollars in our economy. And when you also attribute it to big ticket items, durable goods such as washing machines, refrigerators, cars, anything that you finance, interest rates are obviously a big part of that. So the cheaper you can make that, the better it might be for the economy.
Right.
And typically the market rallies on that news because money is cheaper.
Well, and isn't that just such a fine line to watch for the markets? I mean, really, when you think about it, you pour too much money into the market, and we have a weak dollar. Correct.
Right.
This is what I hear. This is what I'm trying to understand.
And that's why, like, over the last couple of months and the last couple of meetings that the Feds have had, they've held back because they said we want to see really where things are. With regards to the dollar, and this, again, could be a whole nother show, but actually because we are right now considered the safe haven currency. So think about it. The euro...
we're not changing it anytime soon.
No.
Yeah.
So actually, the value of the dollar has gone way up. Right. Exactly. But I think it's also important to note that UBS Wealth Management Research holds the probability of another round of easing at about 20%. So it's not the base case scenario, but I think it's very clear from the verbiage of the FOMC, which is is the Federal Open Market Committee, that's the feds, the interest rates are going to stay at these low levels
Sure.
for a while. So again, for home buying,
That's
it's
awesome.
huge. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great.
Absolutely
Right?
necessary.
Absolutely.
You know, Kate, on that note, let's take a quick break. We'll come back after the break. We'll finish our conversation with Kate Island from UBS Securities. If you have any real estate or real estate financing questions, don't hesitate to give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958, or you can check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com, or just use press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Valley
to
Wide.
get connected to us anytime. We will see you on the other side of the break.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing investment property, let the experts at Valleywide Homes help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Visit our website at reofresnohomes.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958. And put the seasoned professionals of Valleywide Homes to work for you.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, we're continuing our Market Watch update with Kate Island, financial advisor from UBS Securities. Kate, you were talking about how interrelated, obviously, interest rates are and how critical it is to keep, if there is going to be a quantitative easing, that's a big word, quantitative QE3.
Yeah.
It's so important, both for personal spending nationally, for homeowners to be able to go out and actually borrow properties,
homes, yeah.
afford homes. Real quick, and we hadn't talked about this, but home ownership or real estate nationally makes up such a huge part of GDP. That's why it's important to make sure that we keep the money flowing.
Absolutely.
And that we keep making borrowing money for the purposes of acquiring real estate so reasonable. And really, guys, I think it's extremely important to note that borrowing money really, I hear people or agents complaining about how difficult it can be. You know what's difficult is everyone just being patient. And I say that
Seriously.
wholeheartedly.
Seriously.
Borrowing money has not gotten realistically. If you think it's gotten more difficult, that's because they took away the stated income, the no ratio,
Right.
the no doc,
Right.
the stated.
Which is some of what landed us where we are now. So, there have to be rules and regulations.
And where I
that.
stand, too many folks were standing at the curb with the ability to be able to borrow and the only consequence was foreclosure at some point in time.
Right.
And there was nobody in the equation to say, no, I don't think this is a good idea. Borrowing $550,000, doing an 80-20
Right.
for this particular property, and thinking that the market was going to stay the way it was. Right. So it is not, and I can't stress this enough, it's not difficult to borrow money. It is difficult to borrow money if you had a foreclosure 2 years ago.
Right.
But 3 years ago, hopefully you're good to go. And if
Right.
you haven't talked with someone, you need to give us a call.
Well, and banks want to lend. That's how they make money.
Sure.
Like, you have to know that they
It
want
hits
to
their
do
bottom
that.
line.
But absolutely, I mean, they've taken in the shorts with this housing market because they're having to write down a lot of this debt.
Right.
So, I think there has to be a balance within the banks, but cheap money is great.
Right.
Even if it's a little more difficult to get that loan because of maybe what happened in your past. But just think about, like, whoever bought a home in the 70s or the early 80s, like, what interest rate did you pay on your home? Nowhere near
Exactly.
3 3/4%. I would say that much.
Nowhere near.
No,
Nowhere
yeah.
near.
So it's absolutely, it's important to keep that in mind. I think
Sure,
that's good
sure.
perspective.
Well,
Sure.
oversight. It's not. It's there are rules and boundaries everywhere we live and exist.
Right.
Schools, jobs.
People just don't
Right.
like being told no.
Parking tickets. Exactly.
I don't.
There are rules. It's
no.
okay.
Hey, quick story. Okay, a really good friend of mine, and Stacy, you know who you are.
To keep her anonymous.
We were going to keep her anonymous. And back in school, she used to say this thing that her niece would say: "No want to, no have to." And she always held up her finger the same way. And let me tell you, people don't. That's what I hear. I mean, that's what I'm thinking in the back of my mind. No want to, no have to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get that home, come you know what or high water, and I don't care what it takes. And yeah, I think I can afford that $3,200 mortgage payment. Hello,
I no longer pick up the little screaming people stomping their feet at the curb. It doesn't work anymore. I will not pick you up and show you houses. There are rules to this.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
sorry.
Absolutely. Well, it's like if you were going to lend somebody $200,000, wouldn't you attach some kind of rules to it?
I would.
I sure would.
Guys, there's got to be. That's all there is to it. And it's
Nothing
not
wrong with
difficult.
that.
But again, patience is the most important thing that anyone can have in today's market. We'll get to that greater. So
Yes.
proceed. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was talking all over you there.
That's all right. So good news is rates are low. That's excellent. So at
Yay.
least our policymakers are I guess getting the right foundation to make
Right.
home buying and buying big ticket items
To create
more
the right
affordable, right?
petri dish.
Absolutely. However, there is this one big piece that could really have an effect on the financial markets going forward, and it does not matter if you own a home. It does not matter if you have investments in the stock and the bond market.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely need to know about what is called the fiscal cliff.
Gotcha.
And it's coming up at the beginning of 2013. And essentially what it is, it's been coined the fiscal cliff because, again, our industry is there's no shortage of like acronyms and fun names or something. But quite literally, I mean, it is a cliff. And what it is in the United States, there are several policy and spending changes that are going to occur at the beginning of 2013 should Congress take no action. This is my caveat in this whole thing. Should our leaders take no action. Okay. Right now it's really not being talked about because there's a little election coming up in November.
Something
Just
called
a
an
small,
election. Yeah, gotcha.
small election here in the
something or
United
other.
States. So there's a very short window of time between the election in November and between the Christmas holiday break where our leaders and our politicians can maybe make some changes to this. But I'm just going to give you a couple of the items in the fiscal cliff because I think that these are the ones that might affect more people. The biggest one in my mind is the expiration of the Bush tax cuts.
Right.
The Bush tax cuts included a reduction in your income tax rate, in capital gains rate. So when you buy, when you sell a stock, a house, some kind of good, and then also taxes on dividends. So all those taxes are set to increase with the top income tax bracket going from 35% to 39.6%. So that will probably affect, a large number of people. The second part of it is the end of the payroll tax cut. So if you're a W-2 employee, look at your paycheck the last couple of years, you'll notice that you're only being deducted 4.2% for Social Security taxes. That should be 6.2%, and that will go back up. So it's not like that was necessarily something we've had for a long time, but it's, you might get used to having the extra couple $100 in your paycheck every year. So that's going to go away. The expiration of extended unemployment benefits. So as many of you know, unemployment benefits were extended, I believe, to 99 weeks, if that's correct. That extension is now going away. So you're going to have a lot of people coming off of unemployment benefits. People who are on unemployment benefits are not going to be able to get those extensions. And as we know here, jobs, it's jobs, and the housing market.
Yes, jobs and the housing
And jobs,
market.
and more jobs. With regards to estate taxes, the top estate tax rate is going to increase to 55%. That's 55. And the personal exemption is going back down to $1 million. And so what that means is essentially if you die with over $1 million in assets, then your heirs are going to pay 55% estate taxes on whatever is over $1 million, provided you don't do some estate planning. So again, big asterisk on that one.
Right.
But it's something to pay attention to. And if you do have an estate plan, if you do have a large estate, you need to get with your estate planning attorney before this exemption goes back down to $1 million, because there are definitely some things you can do to mitigate some of the risk there.
Gotcha.
A big one is the alternative minimum tax patch. So AMT, they call it for short, alternative minimum tax. It's just kind of essentially a way that the government would ensure that people were paying a certain amount in taxes. Like if you have a lot of deductions and you weren't paying a very high tax rate, the AMT kind of stepped in. Right now it affects approximately 4 million people, and I'm getting all this information from Bloomberg, so if you want to just go to Bloomberg.com, you can check it out there and get all the details. But the thought is that with this patch disappearing, possibly 30 million Americans are going to be thrown into AMT. So again, get with your tax advisor, see if you're going to be affected by that. Yeah, 26 million more people. Americans.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with paying taxes.
Sure.
You know, nobody likes it, but at the same time, you know, that could be a big change for you and your family. There's an additional 3.8% tax that's going to be levied on all financial transactions as a part of Obamacare. So again, that one's kind of a big unknown because right now Obamacare, that bill is in the Supreme Court.
Right.
And so we'll see what happens there. But again, just another tax. Several various tax benefits for education, retirement savings, and then tax benefits for low-income individuals are set to disappear. So that's one side of the fiscal cliff. The other side of the fiscal cliff is that if you recall last fall, I know it seems like probably decades ago, but the super committee that we had kind of charged with coming up with all these ways to reduce our deficit, they failed miserably.
Right.
And so because of that failure of the super committee, there are 1.2 trillion with a T dollars of spending cuts that are set to begin in 2013. Now, they're not all going to hit in 2013, but that's when they'll start. So you've got tax increases and you've got spending cuts all hitting at once, provided Congress doesn't do something. So it's really unclear what Congress is going to do with regards to the fiscal cliff, but a recent report by the CBO, which is the Congressional Budget Office, stated that the fiscal cliff could actually cause the U.S. to dip back into a recession, which is not where we want to be. And so, you know, this information isn't meant to scare anybody, just as much as warn everyone. You know, so when you think about this, pour a stiff drink and then call your tax advisor.
Well, not just your tax advisor. Call those folks who are in those positions to make decisions.
Absolutely. Your estate planning attorney. I mean, get with your financial professional. You know, this
talk
is
to your politicians.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
be a voter.
it's a big thing. I mean, you should be talking with, you know, because really this has the possibility of affecting everybody in some way, shape, or form, whether it be the actual cut, you know, or the tax increase, or just the fact that the economy might be depressed. So it's very important that you pay attention to this. And it's also important to note that UBS Wealth Management Research recommends that global investors remain pretty defensively positioned due to the elevated risks of everything that we talked about today and then some. So again, not to scare anybody, but just, you know, that's why it's important to pay attention.
Yeah, be educated.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, and it's such a political football right at the moment because the fear is this: do something and don't get reelected.
Right.
Do something what you perceive to be good.
Right.
And tilt the electorate the wrong way.
Right.
So between now and then, who pushes the hardest and in which direction? It's so hard to predict.
Well, and I think, you know, maybe very similar to what we saw last year, which is nothing is done until it absolutely has to be done. You know, and I guess, you know, the good thing about where we are in the U.S. is that we're not in a position like the Eurozone, where, I mean, they are being forced to act in a major way. You know, we're not there yet, but as these things continue to come up, I mean, it's, you know, there's talk that we're going to hit that debt ceiling limit again, maybe sometime this year, or at the end of this year. You know, so there's a lot that could be done. I don't know that there's a lot that's going to be done, but, you know, it remains to be seen. You know,
a lot of unknowns.
Be surprised.
Truly.
A lot of which again, the market doesn't like uncertainty.
We don't like uncertainty.
Yeah,
and
no one
what
does.
happens? Let me pose this question: what happens if nothing is done between now and 2013?
Again, like the CBO is saying, we could be in a recession again
because these will start taking
cuts.
effect.
And if they didn't call that a recession that we've been in, what's really a recession look like? You know,
I think we were in a recession. We came out of it. We are growing positively, but I mean, we don't want to be anywhere near like the R word. It's you just don't want to be there.
A recession is a depression on meds. Come on now. Things have changed since the 30s.
Right. That's right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help
you know,
myself,
yeah.
but that's the difference.
Well, that
we
term-
just stay happy during. I'm
Not
sorry.
as bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy
Take
and
the edge
medicated.
off. It takes
That's
the edge
right.
off the
That's
depression.
right.
Yeah.
We have alcohol now. They didn't back then.
that was
Strong.
prohibition.
I'm teasing.
Right smack dab in the middle of prohibition.
That's it. That's
terrible
my
times.
gosh.
Sorry.
Terrible times.
Sorry. I couldn't
No,
help
but just
it.
just to wrap it all up, and a lot of the conversations that my team has with our clients, I mean, it does surround a lot of these negatives, and it's not all negative. Companies are making money. I mean, I don't know when the last time you went to the mall is, but I see people there all the time. Any time of day.
Right.
People are shopping, and that's not. So it's not like things are absolutely falling apart. It's not like if Greece leaves the euro or something like that happens that suddenly people are going to stay in their homes and never leave and never spend money. It just definitely makes the environment more challenging. And so, the conversation that we're having with clients then surrounds, okay, well then what do you do? What can you control?
So you're making calculated plans with your clients'
Absolutely,
decisions.
you have to, right? And you got, you got to leave it open to the
Sure.
fact that things could absolutely change. They can change tomorrow. They can change a couple years down the road.
Right.
But I think really the most important thing, and again, I'm the CRPC, it's a Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor. My business partner, Elise, she's a CFP, which is a Certified Financial Planner, and all those you'll notice have financial planning in the title. And our team really focuses as much on financial planning as asset management.
Right.
And I think the term financial plan, like people's eyes kind of glaze over. It's like, why would I do that? I don't have investments, or I only invest in my 401k,
right.
or
Because
everything's in a CD, or whatever it is. I only invest in real estate. You can still have a plan. And here's and I'll make this brief because I know we're trying to wrap up, but a very specific example of
You don't have to
why
make it brief,
I
just so you
don't.
know.
Okay, I can go on for hours.
You can, please.
A very specific example of why planning is important is like, how much did you pay for your first car? Do you remember? $1,500?
I paid
$1,000?
$1,600 for my first car
Okay.
in 19.
Here we go. Giving his age again.
Okay, so what would you pay now to buy a car? I mean, $1,600 might not get you a set
I looked
of
at the
tires.
same car.
depending on
I
what
looked
kind
at
of
the
car you
same
have.
car the other day. It was a 1969 Firebird. It was that baby puke green.
Nice.
Serious. It was the best car. I didn't know how
So
lucky.
what you're trying to say is you were a ladies' man?
I could
Wow.
totally picture you driving through K-Town in that.
How did you
Totally.
glean that from that statement? But seriously, today you see my son sees the same car, the same exact car. Oh my gosh, Dad, that is so cool.
Now he's saying it's in the
And-
gene pool.
Yeah, and it's expensive now because that same car now, how many years later, is $6,000 or $7,000
Right.
depending upon the condition
Right.
of the car.
Right. And all the parts that go into it, if you have
Right.
to replace anything, are more expensive. And so why is that? Inflation.
Right.
And so if there's one reason to put a plan together, the younger the better. I think if you're really young, if you're in your 20s and you want to plan, that's fine. The plan's going to be a lot more general, but 40s, 50s, 60s, before you retire is the best time to put a plan together, at least 5 to 10 years. But if you think about it,
At least.
at least,
At the very least.
at just a 3% annual rate of inflation, your cost of living doubles every 18 years.
Wow.
Which means that if you retire at age 65, by the time you're 83, the prices that you pay are going to double.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. So before you even get to talking about investments and how, if you're going to buy this stock or that bond or this mutual fund or what have you, I mean, you got to look at inflation because it's absolutely a major issue. And especially as you get older, more of the things that you purchase, like i.e. healthcare, inflate at an even higher rate than core inflation.
Sure.
So, just given that, do you know for sure that what you're doing towards retirement now is going to get you there?
Sure.
Do you know that your family's going to be taken care of should something happen to you? I mean, that's the big piece about financial planning. And so, again, with this topic, I definitely hope to go into more detail in the
Yeah.
future because there's a lot as far as like how to establish, how to start drafting your financial plan, I guess you could say.
Well, like we always say, first and foremost, and your industry and our industry are, like we said earlier, they're attached at the hip.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
hopefully our listeners feel the same way as well, because winning in real estate, a lot of the same a lot of the same tenets apply when it comes time for your finances as well as your retirement. And I would just say this. Preparing now, if you don't, you fail to plan, you are going to fail at some point down the road.
Right.
And I wish, when I think back, the 15 years since I graduated from high school. Why is everybody laughing in the room?
Nothing, not at all.
Yeah, thinking about your puke green car.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm wondering if it...
that kind of gave it away. Sorry,
I'm wondering if it sat in the vineyards and was, ready to hide.
All I can say is this.
Really?
I wish I had to do it all over again because, let me tell you, I don't want to be down the road when it comes time for health care or breaking my hip or something along those. I don't want someone else to be in charge.
Right.
I want to be the one that set the plan in place to ensure that I'm taken care of and also my family's taken care of.
Right.
And that's so critical.
Setting priorities.
So many folks unfortunately bled their retirements just like they did their homes of equity during the day. Now's the time, we said this a few weeks back, now's the time to strangle it right around the throat.
Yep,
and
get your house in order.
Take it back.
Exactly.
Because it's so important to get your financial house in order.
Exactly.
Well, Kate Island from UBS.
Yes.
Financial Securities, CRPC. Did I get that right?
You did.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's UBS Financial Services.
UBS Financial
though,
Services. Sorry.
Yeah. It's close.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today.
Thank you.
Kate is going to be a regular contributor to the Real Estate Radio Network every Sunday from 7 to 8. Michelle Pettiscavalli, as always, it is so awesome to have you here in the studio with us. If you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that we cover here on the show, we would love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958 or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com. Or just use press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Valley-wide.
to get connected to us anytime. Again, a special thank you to Michelle Pettiscavalli,
Anytime,
my
Krager.
very special friend, guest host.
Thanks, Craig.
And as always, a big thank you to Johnny B behind the mics. Johnny, you make us sound so awesome, buddy. Thank you so much for all you do. Again, our goal at the Real Estate Radio Network is to get you the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you back home. Don't forget to tune in to the Real Estate Radio Network next Sunday at 7 a.m. on 105.9, the FM KMJ. Local news, local talk. Make it a great day, Central Valley, and we will see you next week.
The preceding program was paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.